Hello, everyone. I'm Adam with Demiplane. Thank you for joining me for this week's development update and community Q&A session. We're going to jump right in. As always, we are going to talk about the latest updates, what is going on in the last week since I talked to you last on the Demiplane front. And then we are going to continue to look at what is on the short-term roadmap. We call that on deck. So, what is on deck to be worked on? That's our upcoming status. And then you can ask me anything, literally anything. I might not be able to answer all of the things, but I do answer almost all of the things. So you can ask me any question that you want. You can do that in chat right now by simply typing the word question and then follow that by the question itself. And we have our magical demibot that is going to collect all of those for me at the end of the show. We should have plenty of time for questions today. So if you've got those, I encourage you to get them in. And whatever I have at the end is what I will run through. And then we will get back to work. All right, latest updates. If you missed it last week, we have released Demiplane membership and content sharing. This is an incredibly good value. The way that this works is you pay $4.99 a month and you become a Demiplane member. And after you have that membership, you get a couple of really, really core key features. One of those is going to be unlimited characters for your account across all of the games that Demiplane supports. We are not quite there on the character front yet, but the really killer thing that is in there right now, and one of the reasons that we introduced memberships a little bit earlier than we originally planned to, was content sharing. And so you have all of this great content out there right now. I don't even know how many books we are up to with Pathfinder 2E now, but it is many of them, and we're trying to catch up the few that we have not currently digitized. But you can have all of that content, all of the content for Marvel, all the content for the Freely games that we just introduced into early access last week. We have Vampire the Masquerade. We have Hunter the Reckoning on the way. Some more news is coming on that soon. But ultimately, all of that content is going to be shareable across 24 different people. And so, again, just the ability to simulate being able to share that virtually just like you would if you were sharing around a table with those physical books. And so you can become a member this week. If it's not happening right now, it's going to happen at any point this day. Today, we are going to go with release 56, which is going to, in the content sharing drawer, the sidebar drawer that you can see all the details about content sharing, we are also adding a sharing with me section. So that means if someone else is sharing with you, you're going to be able to tell who is sharing with you and the details behind that. And then also some purchase flow updates where we're making it a little bit easier to understand how to become a member. But then also, if you are getting content shared with you, but you happen to know that that content sharing is going to be temporary, maybe you're at a convention and someone's just temporarily doing it, you can still, after this update, go in and make a purchase of that content if you want to keep it for yourself, permanently, if you're in a content sharing situation like that. On the Alien RPG Nexus front, we are working really hard. This is currently in my hands right now, and so I'm having to juggle a few things at this point, but we are working on Colonial Marines and Destroyer of Worlds. And we hope to have some news on that pretty soon here. And then on the Pathfinder Nexus side, Kingmaker Anniversary Edition, this is a beast, but we are getting ready for, I believe it is 10/26. So we are 22 days out from that, and that is going to be a great product. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And we're really excited about 10/26 for Kingmaker. And then we are working on the character builder and digital sheet. We are making real progress. We're at a point now where the team is very heads down on entering data, on building engines. The good news about that means that we've pretty much completed the pass on figuring out all the things that need to get done. And in a project this complex with this much breadth to it. It's really, really a good feeling to get to a point where we feel like we have checked the boxes on the work that needs to get done and there's clarity behind that. And then now the various members of our team are going in and working within the system. So another way to put this is, for a while now, we have been working on the system, and now the team is maybe transitioning to working in the system. And so, from a development standpoint, this is a really, really big shift and big transition. It means that we're making some real progress, and it's not going to be too long before we can start showing off more of what's going on with that, because we're finally getting to a point where I am starting to look at the front end of things and how this is going to look for fans out there who are using the builder and the sheet. And so when we start to get to a point where that in progress work is at a stage where it is something we can show off, we're going to start doing that. On Vampire Nexus Early Access, Sabbat the Black Hand Second Inquisition, those are getting really, really close here, and we're going to have some more news. We're working on those very actively right now. When I finish up here for the stream, that is actually the first thing I'm going to return to after I probably try to round up some lunch somewhere. But yeah, we're working on the Black Hand and Second Inquisition, and Month of Darkness is going on right now for World of Darkness, and there are many exciting things that are going to be happening. But we're working on some news that we're going to share with you during the Month of Darkness, and possibly some preview materials. So stay tuned for that as Month of Darkness continues, because we all know that October is the best month on the calendar. It has all of the things. The NBA season starts in October. We have, Month of Darkness that is apparently becoming an annual thing, which is wonderful. We have all kinds of shows that kind of start making their debut. This is the shift in what becomes the holiday season for movies and entertainment. Things start happening, and then we have that Halloween thing that happens too, and so it's just the best month on the calendar, and we're really excited that we are now in October. All right, let's talk about upcoming. So on the character builder and digital sheet, I wanted to talk for a second, because I've been alluding to this and kind of teasing this for a few weeks. But the character builder and digital sheet, our release approach is we are going to start this out with a closed alpha. So this is going to be invite only, and we're going to share all the full details about this in the coming weeks here. But one of the things that I can go ahead and allude to is that if you have purchased content, if you are a subscriber, you're definitely going to get the first round of invites, because we really, really value all of your help and assistance and support really during this entire early access phase, and helping us fine tune what's going on with the digital reader and the game compendium, because as I've shared before, those are the building blocks for what makes successful character management tools. And so all of that help and you jumping in early on this process, we absolutely value that. And so you will be getting those invites. We will continue to kind of increase the scope of those invites over time. And then we will go to an open beta that is going to be just available for everyone after we're satisfied with where we are in that closed alpha. Once we get to the open beta, this really is just kind of introducing the character tools into early access, which has kind of been, the plan all along. And then once we are in a place where we feel like the tool is where it needs to be, to scratch the itch for fans out there and what they need to use at the table, that is when we will remove it from early access and it will become full release. As you can imagine, we're not terribly concerned with when we will call that a full release. I know that there are jokes out there from companies like Google that Gmail was in beta for 10 years or whatever it was. We don't expect it to be that long at all. But the key thing is that early access point. That is the really core inflection point along this release approach, because that's when it's going to become available to everyone. And that is where we are saying, hey, we are at a point where we think that this is the right starting point for this. And then we will continue to iterate for this, not only for Pathfinder, because we will introduce Pathfinder, the closed alpha for that, more details soon here. But with that, we're talking about all of the games. This is the approach that we will likely use. And then when we get to a point where the character management part of the platform is where we want it to be, then it's going to become more operational at that point, where when we introduce a new game, that whole closed alpha through early access period probably won't be happening at that point. But to start, this is the approach that we want to use to make sure that we are making the tools that people really want and need to use around their table out there, because that is the entire point of everything that we're doing. And you are a big part of that. So again, we appreciate all the feedback already through early access. Can't wait to get these character tools in your hands and get that feedback. And that feedback is going to help shape this and blacksmith this on the anvil into what we want this to be, what we all want these tools to be. On the game content side, Pathfinder, you can see the roadmap here. I have added here just to make sure that everyone is clear that we're going to do it. Rage of Elements, I can't wait for that one personally. I love me some Kineticist, and so really, really looking forward to that book. Vampire, we are continuing to work through the roadmap here. No updates yet on Chicago by Night or Cults of the Blood Gods, but the moment that we hear back, from the World of Darkness team, we are going to start. We will move those to the top of the priority and work through those, and then we are working on a little, New Year's adventure. We're going to try to get that in before this holiday season, and then on the Alien RPG, the other cinematic scenario that we are not currently working on, but we're going to try to catch up. I know that it comes out this month. We're not sure if we're going to be able to hit that or not, so no promises there, but we are going to be catching it up as soon as we possibly can. And it would not surprise me that you would have that in your hands by at least November. And so as we're working through that, we would be completely caught up on the Alien RPG side, and then we would be able to have any new products as they come on the street date. All right, I think that is everything for upcoming. A quick reminder that streaming Wednesdays for the next, 3 weeks, so tomorrow included, 3 weeks, we are going to be having our 4-part series, Expiration Race. And this is an incredible cast. It was a really great first episode, a lot of chemistry going on there. If you haven't caught that first episode, it's a couple of hours, pretty easy to catch up on our YouTube channel. And so jump in on this one. It's going to be a ton of fun. And I'm saying that a little ironically because it is fun, but it's also, the end of the world. And, there's a bleakness to it, but the cast is still bringing a great deal of humor to the situation. So honestly, it's my kind of post-apocalyptic fare, and maybe it will be yours too. So jump in on Exploration Race if you haven't done that yet. And then tonight, I am finally in the hot seat. I wanted to make sure that all of the incredible cast here for Children of Arete, that everyone else, got to go. But before I did, I tried to push it off as long as I possibly could. But apparently we are out of other cast members, and I am going to be on the Arete tonight. And I adore Sam, and they make incredible content. They are an incredible host. And so I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I can't wait for it. I love being put on the spot anyway. And so I'm sure that it is going to be a night for that, and we'll see how it goes. But we'll see you there at 6 p.m. Pacific here this evening. All right, I think that is everything. It is time for questions. So see several questions that we have, and I want to, chew through this as much as possible. Anything from Demiplane RPG. Yes, you can ask me anything. I might not answer everything, but you can ask me anything. All right, from Decron 82, Vampire Nexus, Status of Chicago by Night, and Cults of the Blood Gods, still in pre-order. Yeah, and ultimately, if you have missed the update on that, we got word from the World of Darkness team as we were kind of wrapping those up and submitting those for approval that they were taking a look at both of those products and that they expected some updates to come. Now, the extent of those updates, what those updates are, we do not have any of that information, at this point in time. We basically told them like, hey, whatever those updates are, get those when you get them completed, and then we will go in and make the changes and the updates and the modifications on our side, and then we will release those out. So the last that we have heard, that process is still going on with the World of Darkness team. And as I shared a little bit before, the moment that we hear that we have, kind of the final updated files that are going to go off for the new printings and everything else that's going to happen. The moment that we hear that, we will get started on incorporating those changes, whatever they are. And of course, without seeing what they are, we don't know exactly how long that process will take. But I am saying that once we hear that, those will go to the top of the priority list, and we will be knocking those out, as quickly as we possibly can. Neurolancer, any update on Pathfinder character management alpha timeline criteria for those who will be invited to the alpha? Yeah, so I think those couple will probably ask a little bit earlier, and that's totally fine. This is a great chance to summarize and reiterate at this stage. We don't have a timeline yet, but it really is soon. And the thing that I can tell you is there's really just it would be very hard for me to believe if we're not going to, hear some information about that, again, very, very soon. I don't want to hammer that down just in case, because in software development, there's a lot of unknown that can happen. But you will be hearing about that. And as far as the criteria goes, if you have made purchases or you're a subscriber, then that is going to guarantee you some access. I can tell you that. As far as the rest goes, we are still determining after that initial wave of people who would be invited, what the needs would be after that. And so we're going to play that by ear a little bit more. So the criteria is a little bit, less resolution and clear for us on that. But if you've made purchases, then you're going to be a shoo-in. Phoenix D. Black, will Kingmaker be a single purchase for the AP and companion book, or will both be purchasable separately? So right now we are still reviewing exactly what we want to do here, and we don't necessarily have to make that decision until we, for another couple of weeks here before it comes out. But I can tell you right now that I think that we're probably leaning toward the single purchase being possible, but then possibly the breakdown. Now, companion book here, I've got to go back and look at this. I do want to clarify, I can't remember the names because I've been looking at it like as a whole product, so I can't remember the names here. If the companion book is talking about the 5e content, that is not going to be included in what we're offering. We don't have anything that is 5e related on the platform at this time. And so it will not be, part of that. So I want to make sure, if I'm like forgetting something, companion book is something else, and it's 5e related, that won't be there. But we're still looking at how the overall product is broken down, and how we're going to offer that. We definitely would be inclined to offer it with as much flexibility as we can. So more news on that in another week or two. Phoenix D. Black, will the invites be only for us, or can we share these out with groups? So I imagine this is for a question regarding the closed alpha for character tools. and we're not quite ready to answer this one yet. We are thinking through, and we basically what that means is not hiding anything from you. We are still discussing about how we want to do that. I think that it is kind of the baseline way of this happening. Is it absolutely should be an expectation that it would be just for the individuals to start, but then we might end up introducing some ways for that to happen with groups in the future. So again, it's all actively being discussed right now, and we're kind of getting to a point where the development has been so hardcore, and so the team has been so heads down that we're working in the systems now, and this is the point where we're kind of coming up for a little bit of air. We're having those discussions about how this is going to go to market, and how we are going to approach the testing. And so these are all very active discussions, and we don't have the full clarity on that even internally yet, and so we're not able to talk about that with the fans and with people who are in on early access yet. But we will, like, obviously, as we get closer to this, we're going to have those full details, and we'll let you know. Anchor 89, any news on the Starfinder front? No news yet. But I will reaffirm our commitment to doing Starfinder at some point. So we'll see how it goes. Zach Hall, GM, could a GM in closed alpha have their players use the character builder too? Similar question. We'll have more details on that. What I can tell you on a practical level is we initially, it makes a lot of sense for us to keep that a little bit more limited. So, it might not be some of the initial feedback that we would be looking for might not necessarily be tied to play itself. It might be tied to seriously just, hey, you're creating a character and you've been GMing this game for as long as it has, as 2E has been around, you're an expert. How does this flow, and how does this feel to you? So all of those are things that we would likely be looking for. But yes, there will be a point at some point along the testing, whether that happens initially or not, that we're going to want far more of an actual play test where real players are out there playing it. And when that time comes, again, whether it's initially or a little later in the process, we will extend those invites and widen that circle a bit. Anchor 89, some player maps in Pathfinder 2's APs, you click and you get an auto download, and other newer ones you just see the image with no auto download. Is there a reason for this? Age of Ashes, you get a download for most player maps. Bloodlords, you do not. That is something that we will take a look at. That should not be the case, and it could be that our team has been growing, and there's so much work going on that this could be a little bit of a lost in translation situation, and bringing this up to us is really, really good, and we will absolutely take a look at this. But yes, the intent is for those player maps to be provided. Sometimes we don't get the best map files or layered map files, and so those player maps are a little bit more challenging. But wherever they are available, we do intend to have those there. So if there are, you've named one of them here. If there are other specific instances where this is happening, feel free to share that with us, and our game content team will get on it and get that addressed. Anchor 89, any word on Pathfinder stream? Will it be after character management to show it off more? Character management is not the determining factor right now. And so the word on the Pathfinder stream that I am comfortable to share at this point, and what I mean by that is the show has just been delayed several times due to COVID concerns, because we have been trying to get this as an in-studio, in-person thing. And at this stage, we have elected to, the plan right now is to do that remotely. as we ran into that. Then we ran into scheduling conflicts and nightmares. And so right now, we have the show targeted to film in December. And so we will release it at some point after that. So I would not expect it this year at that point because of that December turnaround. Our offices are going to start to kind of wind down and close around the holidays. So I imagine that is something that you will see in Q1 of next year. We remain very excited and committed to the cast. I think that it is going to be great when it happens, but unfortunately, because of some of the real world concerns, we've had to shift the plans a good bit over the course of the last year with that. And then now we've decided that we are going to just leapfrog all the COVID concerns and do it remotely. But then now we have been working through schedules and trying to get everything tied down, because with that cast we have several folks that are very busy, and so we're looking for that time to be able to get them all together. Right now, that looks like that's going to be December, and I'm really excited about it. We'll share more as we get closer. Let's see. I think that's a similar question, so I'm going to skip over that one. Jasanu, this is a good question. Will the early version of the character management manager only include the core rulebook? So great question. And as it stands right now, probably the best way to talk about this, because when we started and we were getting ready to put content in place and everything else, we kind of looked at this in a way of, hey, we're going to have the core rule book, and we're going to look at the core rule book and the advanced player's guide. That's kind of where we started. As we have gotten into it more, it's less about that there's just a cliff after those two books, and more about the systems, game systems, mechanical systems within the game that those two books represent is what we have focused on for the mechanics of the different modifiers and the engines and how all those things are coming together. So what that means is, the approach that we have kind of been, playing with the last even week or so as that content entry is going on and everything else is a little less that it's, only going to be the core book and advanced player's guide, and more that anything that would work with the mechanics that are available in the core book or the advanced player's guide are going to be covered, and so that's kind of the initial thing there. Naturally, we're going to be working to get all of those things in place as quickly as we can. From my past life, I remember when Tasha's Cauldron of Everything hit and how much of a nightmare it was, and how we all just were wringing our hands and just concerned, and how are we ever going to support these kinds of sweeping changes? And in hindsight, they weren't even that big of changes, but just the way that we had kind of backed ourselves into a corner a bit. The great news about hindsight is that you can do things in a different way. And so as we are tackling this here with Pathfinder Nexus, the great news is we have an incredibly flexible system, and making new modifiers and new types of engines exist. It is not a difficult process. It's just a process that when you have hundreds of them, it's going to take a little time to get to, but little time is the emphasis that I can get there. And so ultimately, initially, we will not support everything that the real product that kind of forced us to look at taking a more flexible approach was right as we started conceptualizing some of what became development here with the character builder for Pathfinder. That is when Secrets of Magic released, and we saw Secrets of Magic and we're like, oh, like we're going to do some really different things with some of these rules. And so it really kind of necessitated this approach with the flexibility we're going to do. And so having said all that, that means that right out of the gate in the alpha, We're not going to have Secrets of Magic support for some of the variant systems that introduces. Elementalist, as an example there. Being able to use an entirely different spell list. That's not going to be there immediately in the closed alpha. Now, again, it probably could be there and probably will be there before we get it into the open beta of early access. But those things might not be there right away. But options within Secrets of Magic that utilize, that are backgrounds that utilize the modifiers that we're already using in the core book and the advanced player's guide, there's a good chance that those things would be in. And so that's kind of how we're starting to look at it. And I know that was getting down into the weeds a good bit, but it's less about the books themselves and more about the options that those books introduce. And so when those books have options that are not reinventing any wheels, then those options are probably going to be, those options are much easier for us to make sure that we integrate. And then we're going to have to just case by case take those new things that those products are introducing and make those work. And then the good news is it is all cascading, that once we make that work, anytime that's used in future things, that work is already done and the system is very open and very flexible after that. All right, we got a few more here. I will jump in. Let's see. So that's a couple of duplicates there that I've already answered, and that's great. Thanks for the questions all the same. Yeah, so Phoenix D. Black provides some clarification there. Appreciate that. Kingmaker Companion Guide is a second book that details the companions. The 5e bestiary is a separate product. Yeah. So yeah, the 5e thing not included in what we're doing, at this time. But the Kingmaker Companion Guide as a second book, it does make a lot of sense, and that is something that we are actively looking into, exactly how we're going to package that, and we will have more information on that here in the next. It may be by next week. If not, it'll certainly be by the week after that. All right, let's see if there are any others. We're a little over time, but I want to make sure that I go through the full list. Yeah, excellent question. We'll close out on this one. Neurolancer, will the character manager go all the way to level 20 and include archetypes? I guess the simplest way to answer this is yes. Again, kind of having said what I said before in that longer answer, they are going to, if we're looking through all of those things, for free users, we have our Pathfinder primer that is going to include, some freely accessible content that will be available to anyone. If you own content, then yes, everything's going to go up to level 20. It's going to include, all the different archetypes that are available there. If, especially in the closed alpha, again, many of these answers, if we're talking about, in state when this releases, yes, it's going to have all of the things for sure. But if we're talking, early, the closed alpha here, then that is going to be a place where it might not have every archetype from the book that just released immediately. It might, but it might not also, because again, we are focusing on functionality is how we're kind of approaching that. And if an archetype is introduced in a later product that has entirely different functionality, it might not be immediately available in the closed alpha, but we will have it available over time. And again, definitely before we release, the idea is that coverage would be in place. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to go find a food truck somewhere. I encourage all of you to do the same. As much as you can, support those local artists that are making food experiments out there. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I hope all of you have a good week. Again, we've got Expiration Race episode 2 coming tomorrow. There's On the Erte tonight. I'm going to be the guest there, and you can come and ask me questions again there tonight if you want to. See everyone then, and hope that you have a wonderful week. Later, Gators.